Oh, she doesn't have her laptop. Okay. So what did you want to know about insulin resistance? About how to look for it in your report? Or maybe while Jody types that out, we'll get to Mary Beth's question about um, glutathione. So NAC versus glutathione. Glutathione is kind of the where we're trying to be. What we're saying is some of us don't have the genetic ability to efficiently use it. So the primary gene you're looking at is GSTT1. So Mary Beth, that's your question. I would go to your inflammation and immunity section and look at GSTT1 to understand how efficiently you use glutathione by looking at how many copies you have. So if you have 0 or 1 copies of GSTT1, then I would use NAC, right? NAC is a precursor. It will make you glutathione. If you have 2 copies of GSTT1, go ahead and use glutathione directly because your body is very efficient at it. What we find is that people that are inefficient that go use it end up losing minerals and nutrients and things they actually need because the glutathione is sort of, call it, confused and malinstructed, and so it gets to work on its own. And so that's really the delineation. GSTT1, 0 or 1 copies NAC, 2 copies glutathione, but even with the 2 copies with the glutathione, I would start low and build it up. This is another area where I think a lot of clinicians make a mistake because they go straight to the full dose. It's better if you allow your body the ability to build it up. And it doesn't take long. Take that dose, divide it by 4, whatever that regular dose, and week by week over a period of a month, build it up. So give yourself a month to get to that place, and then you'll feel better. Okay, now let's go back to, let's just see if we got the rest of Jody's question. And if anyone, again, if anybody wants to speak, you see in the bottom here, there's a reaction button. Where do you raise your hand? Everybody. If anyone knows how to raise their hand, go ahead. But I believe, oh, here it is. If you click where it says reactions at the bottom in the menu, you'll see the ability to raise hands. So if you want to speak, and go ahead, just raise your hand and we'll make sure that happens. So let's see. We'll go. I just want to make sure that the rest of George's question came in. Okay, can you talk about genes behind? I'll finish Jody's question, then we'll go to the next raise hand. Can you talk about the genes behind insulin resistance and what to do about it? So, in the diet nutrition section, also in the cardiovascular section, you'll see a gene called TCF7L2. TCF7L2. That is the gene that drives the efficiency of your insulin response. There's also a gene called AMY1. AMY1. That's the gene that drives your body's ability to use starch as fuel, right? So pasta, rice, bread, sugar, starch. There's also ApoA2, ApoA2, which determines how efficiently you use fats as fuel. So between those 3, what you're looking at is 2 separate things. What fuel should I use? So how do I maintain metabolic health with the fuel, starches and fats? And you can see the efficiency by the gene version. And then the secondary consideration is insulin response. How efficient is my insulin response? If your insulin response is not so good, you also have to pay attention to fats potentially driving a problem there. You don't hear about this clinically typically, but it is true that if your insulin response is dysregulated, then fats can also cause you a problem because ultimately fats get metabolized into glucose, right? So if you have an excess of fats, you turn it into sugar anyway. So that's the cascade. So TCF7L2, your efficiency will then determine how sick you're going to get from maintaining a high carb diet, right? Then starches will determine how bad you're going to feel today. So the metabolic pathway, fat and starch, is more like how sluggish and how efficiently do you feel today. And the TCF7L2 or insulin response is longitudinally, you might get sick, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, dementia, if you keep yourself on this path of eating foods that are misaligned. So that's kind of the way to look at that insulin cascade. Sherry, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, thank
Hey,
you.
Sherry.
Hi. So my question was, my testosterone and estrogen levels were historically low, and I'm on bioidentical supplements for both. And my DNA came back showing I'm codominant. And my concern was from the testosterone perspective, I was a green light to making the DHT, and from testosterone to DHT. And then for clearance of DHT, I have 0 genes of the UGT2B17, and then I was yellow for the UGT2B15. And my comp gene, whether that's related or not, is red at AA, I believe.
So you're taking hormones right now, and so your
Correct.
concern is just, is there any negative outcome from that?
Right. Well, my impression from looking at that is my testosterone is going quickly to DHT, which is inflammatory, which hasn't been tested, and then also quickly to estrogen. Now, of the estrogen 3 pathways, I was red, so I felt like that was pretty good. But I was concerned with my DHT having such poor clearance.
Okay, so yes, it's a concern. It's less of a concern for women than it is for men. And the red flag is going to be if you start to see hair loss. So typically, hormone treatment for women, yes, you're converting it both into estrogen and DHT. You're going both ways, but like you said, you don't clear. So the little that you make is going to trigger problems. And the clear sign that you may need to slow things down is if you start to notice hair falling out, right? That's when your DHT is like over the level that's healthy. So there is a certain level of DHA that's great. You start to burn fat. You probably feel a little bit more energetic, more resilient. It's actually good. You just don't want too much. So, and you can actually measure. So I heard you say that you haven't been tested. So wherever you're getting your hormones done, you should ask them to do a Dutch test or something equivalent quarterly. They should be doing something like that because, there's other metabolites they should look out for. So any sort of typical hormone regimen, the usual is a quarterly Dutch test to make sure that level, because things change, your environment changes, stress changes, your body changes. So it's a good way to track. We know genetically, innately what you do, but where you're at is a little bit finicky, right? Especially with hormones. So I would request a quarterly Dutch test. And DHT is not a problem if you're not experiencing hair loss. You're probably benefiting from it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes.
All right. Mr. Beagle.
Hey, Kashif.
Hey, John, how are you doing?
Group, good to see you. I'm not sure I signed up for what I was thinking. I was thinking what we were talking about potentially was an opportunity for us to give you feedback on what we think might be beneficial as consultants to learn more things. So I'm going to take my time to do that because I don't have a question on my personal results. Okay, but I still want to give him my 2 cents. Can I do that?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
I had a question with regards to, I had sent like the DNA cheat sheet and to be able to list on 2 pages is that possible? Is that going to maybe be done? I know you guys are working on a ton of stuff, but I just find it really hard as a new learner to be able to go through section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, jump around and figure versus I go through everything. I take all that and before I meet with somebody and I put it on that list because it's the best way for me to quickly look at it. I print it out and then I can say right here on one sheet, I can do that. And I find it incredibly beneficial. And I think anybody who's consulting for the team would do that as well. So I just want to make that point.
Yeah, I agree. And so just so everyone knows, John's being very humble, but he's a brilliant clinician. And he took our test and created this amazing cheat sheet to make it easier for clinicians to use the data. So where we're at now is Tracy, who may or may not be on this call, our COO, is working with our tech team to actually build a whole new portal, so not that there's anything wrong with the portal, but we want to keep improving and making better versions. So the cheat sheet is one of the main things on there. This very easy guide, like here's my actual results, right? So yes, that's coming. I don't know how far along it is, but it's definitely part of the development plan.
Okay, and then nutritional education. So I went through the genetics. I mean, the class was, I thought, phenomenal. I think what you guys put together in training somebody with no experience on genetics and DNA, incredible. I thought you guys did a really, really great job of getting me to a point where I could actually talk to people about stuff. Where I feel uncomfortable, and the reason I'm not consulting right now for the team is that my nutritional, I don't have that background
Yeah,
in nutrition that some people have in functional medicine. And so for me to know what ashwagandha does, for me to know what all these things, I just can't help. I can't just say because you all said so. I need to be an expert. I need to
Got
know
it.
what every one of those things do. And more importantly, I have a diabetic with hypertension who's on cholesterol meds, that's 400 pounds that I'm working through. I don't want to give them something that I don't know just because, and not that I don't trust y'all, but I need to know what those drugs do, right?
yeah,
And
got it.
I'm finding it very difficult finding sources because it's not, I haven't gotten that through the company, okay? So, but
Got
I'm
it.
looking and I'm trying to take these nutritional programs outside the DNA company. And it's just such a long list.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's really helpful for me if we just talked about the ingredients in our products. I mean,
yeah.
there's
So you
a
need
handful of them, right?
a cheat sheet for that too, basically.
I made one
Yeah,
myself, but I picked it off of the Examine website, which I signed up to be, for a year subscription so I can look all that stuff up. But
yeah,
it's I didn't find everything, so I'm just trying to
yeah.
do that. And my
Got it.
third thing, I'll stop is I think I love listening to you guys. I like to sign in on as many things as I can that you present. And I think that I get lost when we talk about personal things because I'm thinking more from a team standpoint. If we could take the questions that everybody has and not answer them on when you're talking about diet and nutrition. I want to know about diet and nutrition. I signed up because I wanted you to tell me more about diet and nutrition in a way for me to process that for a client. And
Yeah,
then I get another 45 minutes of answering individual questions. Just take those questions and I'm not saying don't answer them. I'm just suggesting that we take all those questions. And then once we have all of these questions that everybody's putting together, let's add additional training because then obviously it wasn't brought up so that we can get our consultants in a just a full round. I mean, the program was great, but it's an opportunity for us to take this information and create additional programming based on all the questions that are asked because there's hundreds of them. And you do
yeah.
an incredible job answering them, but I get lost in that process of trying to learn about diet and nutrition for individual.
Got it.
Is
I'm
that fair?
I'm writing down what you're saying because it makes a lot of sense. Basically, the questions are what's missing from the report, right? Or from the so just
From
it's
the
not
training.
about a singular answer. It's about getting that answer to everybody, right?
Yeah, because I want
Yeah.
to know, like, just the answer you just gave. I'm not sure I heard it that way before, so I'm interested in learning it, even though it was an individual question.
Right.
And it's fair. I just learned something from it, so I'm in. But I think it takes away from the podcast or the webinar that you put on when I'm just trying to sink my teeth into diet, nutrition, and every one of the markers. When
Right.
in the middle of it, we're going through, let me answer that, let me answer that, let me answer that. I get lost.
Right.
Anyhow, that's my 2 cents, and
Okay.
I really appreciate everything you guys do. So I'll carry on and learn more.
All right. All right, Denise, you got your hand up. Sorry, you're still on mute.
Wait a minute.
I hear. Oh, you were unmuted. Now you're mute again.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. This past week, when you talked about the hormones, I have a CYP1B1 that's a CG.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned coaching needed. I'm just not sure what that is. I had company that evening, so it was like a little bit distracting.
Yeah, sorry, I missed the last part. You weren't sure about what the coaching is?
No, I'm talking about the CYP 1B1. I was wondering, and my result is the C as in cat, G as in goat.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned somebody must have had that, and you mentioned that coaching was needed. Could you explain that a little bit more? I'm fine with doing coaching. I probably will even do the practitioner, but
Okay.
I'm curious about it.
So the reason we bring that up is so that means you're fast in a toxic estrogen pathway where there's no single response. So kind of like John said, give me the cheat sheet for that. So that one is not like, see this, do this. There's no singular answer. And it's so important when it comes to female health and all the potential problems. It's this central root that drives so many things. So it's not like, hey, you don't metabolize fats, don't go on a keto diet. It's far more impactful, right? And so that's an area where we very specifically recommend working with a coach because there's so many things to look at: your environment, your food, the hormones you're on, your relationships, like everything affects this, and this also affects everything. And because it's so important for the major female health problems like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, cardiovascular disease, dementia, they're all driven by this. So it's a major opportunity to improve and prevent. It's also a major threat if left unchecked. And it's also complex because it's not a single thing. There's everything affects it. So that's why when it comes to estrogen toxicity, we always recommend diving in deep. You're going to learn that there's so much that you didn't even consider that needs to be thought about. And that's why coaching is important for that problem and any of the toxic estrogen pathways.
Because when I looked at the rest of them, it looked like I cleared all sorts of things beautifully well, and all of that.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was just confusing to me. And obviously that's probably why coaching is needed.
Yeah, the hormone cascade is the most confusing part because it is truly a cascade. That's why we use that word. And you can intervene in multiple different areas and they all affect each other. So that's exactly why we say it's not easy to just answer a question. It takes time with an individual in that particular area. Every other area, it's a choice. You want to work with someone for accountability or you just want the information to run with? Great. This one area, we say it's much more complex than what the paper shows. If there's a problem like estrogen toxicity, highly recommended you work with somebody.
So having this result, though, doesn't necessarily mean that I have estrogen toxicity. It would rely on a whole variety of other factors.
Yeah, it means that you do, but to what degree? Is it to the point where it's going to make you sick?
Okay.
Right? Yeah, so
Okay.
yes, exactly to your point. We got to then look at everything to see where you're at. Right?
Can I just ask one other question?
Sure.
COMT, can you explain that just a little bit more?
Yeah, COMT is the tail end of, so it basically is a clearance protein. It gets rid of stuff, right? Think of it as like a broom. So everything's been broken down, the broom now sweeps it up. So it's responsible to sweep up some of your estrogen metabolites, including the toxic ones. And so when it's slow, we're saying not only are you making this stuff, but you don't get rid of it. So it sticks around for longer, just like the DHT example we had earlier, which means it just more of an inflammatory threat. So and this is why I'm saying that hormone cascade is complex. There's multiple pieces to think about.
Right.
And like who are you in the end? It's not one gene, it's a multiple things.
Sure. Right? So I have an AG in the COMT.
Yeah, so you're okay. It's still not the fast version, but you're better than some people that have the slow version. But if there's estrogen toxicity, again.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to spend all the time on me, but yeah, I was just really surprised when you had mentioned that CYP1B1 because it just looked like, based on some of the other things, when I went through and listened to all those things, like, oh, you clear this and you do this beautifully, and and you don't have, I was just like, whoa, what's this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Shane, you are up next.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm actually Jennifer. Shane's my husband. It's just his
Oh,
Zoom
okay, that makes more
profile.
sense.
I have a question. It's actually kind of two questions, but they're related. So I have Hashimoto's, and we're working on some adrenal gland issues. And so I'm working with a functional medicine doctor, and I really like her, but she seemed kind of lost when she looked at my DNA report. And so I just am not having a lot of confidence that we're necessarily on the right path for my genetic, things going on. And so one of my questions is just regarding diet. According to my profile, it says moderate carb diet, moderate fat diet. And it said I have a poor response to toxins in protein. So she currently has me following Dr. Mindy Peltz's Fast Like a Girl. So it's that ketobiotic some days, it's the hormone feasting other days with intermittent fasting. I've been doing that for a little over 3 months, and I haven't lost a single pound.
Okay.
So I'm feeling like this isn't working.
Yeah.
And maybe I need to do something different, because weight loss is something that I'm looking for in addition to just improving my health in general. And so I've been listening to podcasts about the carnivore diet, and I'm just like, there's another doctor that I follow that really pushes that. And I asked you in a previous call about that, and you were like, well, it's probably really great for maybe like 8 weeks. But after that, I would kind of depends on your genetic profile. And I guess I'm just wondering what your thoughts are based on what I've already said, as far as the carbs and the fats and
Yeah. So first of all, so Hashimoto's, so a lot of what you're describing to me, when I look at all the pieces, it's like all thyroid driven, right? And so the challenge with a lot of thyroid solutions is they're not testing for the right stuff. So they're looking at your T4 and T3 and these different thyroid, but the way it is made and the way your body actually does this is more complex than the simple blood work. And so first step, whoever your functional doctor is, I would request a complex thyroid panel, not your basic medical panel, which just looks like your T4. T4 is inactive. It doesn't even, so T3 is the active form, but it's not just made in your thyroid. It's made in other parts of your body, right? And that's why you have like this complex like weight and cardiovascular and cholesterol issues can be driven from poor thyroid. So I would say one thing that might, and I'm saying this because the fasting didn't work, right? So that's why I'm saying it's probably the thyroid. So I would order a complex thyroid panel, look deep into the T3 path. And you're probably going to find, if you push your functional medicine doc to investigate there, that's probably where you're not doing well. Thyroid takes a long time to fix. It's not an overnight repair, right? But it can be fixed. And yeah, fasting might make it worse in the short run because of the stress load and cortisol and all that stuff.
Okay.
So yes to what you said about diet based on your profile. It's like a mid kind of paleo, not so much keto, not low carb, it's paleo, something in the middle. Probably don't have a crazy short fasting window. You're probably not fasting at all during your menstrual cycle, the actual cycling week, like the menstrual week, right? And you're having a kind of a lighter version of a fast. In fact, rather than daily intermittent, maybe twice a week, right? And then just the other days, just do your regular thing to let your body build it up. As your thyroid is healing, you're raising your ability to fast, right? But it all starts from healing the thyroid. This problem won't go away if you don't heal the thyroid. From my understanding of this, like listening to you for 2 minutes, right? We haven't gone deep, but that's what I think is going on.
Well, I'm not actually on any thyroid medication. I'm on lots of supplements to support thyroid, to support the adrenal glands. But I'm not taking any medicine for the thyroid yet. she wanted to work on these other things and thought that it would improve. And because my numbers were awful
Yeah.
as far as like my T3 and all that. But this is where I'm just feeling a little insecure. Like, am I on the right path with her? Am I not? We've
Yeah.
been working on this for over 9 months now. I
So,
don't know.
yeah, we don't like pills, but thyroid is one of the areas where we say you need to intervene because it just takes too long to fix, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Sleep, eczema, migraines, we can fix it in a couple weeks. Thyroid, if you try and go the natural route, it could take a year, right?
Mhm.
And you don't even know if you're going to get there. I would say get onto that T3 medication. You
Okay.
know, you hate to say it, it's not off. Again, I'm not a doctor, not a clinician, just from what we've seen. If you want one of our doctors to look at it, we can do that. We do have functional medicine MDs that understand the genetic side. They can look at it for you too. But I would say heavily focus on that T3 pathway, medicate it. That might help you a lot. Like, and
Okay.
then all of a sudden you can go start doing other things and then go do the healing, right?
So would you say no to the keto or carnivore diet?
Carnivore, I think if you're really, really strict about it, you're okay because it's not fasting drives a cortisol response for some people. It's stress in combination with your poor adrenal and thyroid. That combination leads to fat. You're not starving yourself on a carnivore diet. You're just not eating anything but carnivore foods, right? So you're
Right.
okay. Yeah. But it
Okay.
allows the autoimmunity, the Hashimoto's to heal,
Okay.
right? It allows your hormones to balance and yeah.
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 Okay, my last question for you is obviously because I'm dealing with thyroid issues, it's affecting all of my hormones, right? So my hormone profile says I'm androgen dominant, and I have an increased risk of estrogen toxicity. What my blood work is showing is that I'm low in testosterone and I have too much estrogen. So she has me taking DIM to, remove some of that estrogen. But then she prescribed a testosterone troche for me to take daily.
Mm.
And I don't really know if it's doing anything or not. I mean, I don't feel bad. I maybe feel a little better. I wouldn't say that I see like huge differences or anything. And so I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, like, is this something I continue doing? Is this good? Am I on the right path with this?
So there's two halves to that. One is what we said earlier, Dutch testing, like the number should be right.
Okay.
So is she testing? And right now, there's a lot of ways to test hormones. Dutch is just the easiest, cleanest way to do it. It's comprehensive. And second, it is the way you feel. Like if she's getting you more androgenized, then you should be burning fat. You should be feeling a little bit more energetic. You should have less anxiety. So if you're not feeling those things, then it's not really helping, right?
Mhm.
You should feel it. And if you're not feeling it, it's time to get tested and look at the numbers and maybe what she's doing, your body doesn't, the genetics aren't, aligned with what she's giving you.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And we, by the way, do have a hormone clinic if you want a genetic consultant to look at the hormones for you, right? Our protocol is probably going to be very different than what you typically see because we think genetically, but we do have that. Anyways, we can, if you talk to client care, they can connect you to that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't see your name. It says owner.
Yeah, hi. I don't know why it says that. This is Linda O'Brien.
Hey, Linda.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good.
Thank you for doing this. Let me give you a little bit of background. I'm 75. I had a heart attack 12 years ago. It was a mild one from my perspective. And I have severe osteoporosis, but I'm high energy and, very athletic. I work out all the time. I do resistance training. And I still have the weight I had in high school. So all that being said, I thought I was going to talk to you about cardiovascular and the fact that, I have a transport issue, but when you talked about hormones, I looked at my hormones and you're saying, bad, bad, bad 4 times. And I said, I think I need to talk to you about hormones.
Yeah. Well, when you have sort of unexplained, like you seem like you're more androgen dominant. I don't know, but I'm just guessing, right?
Which one is estrogen dominant?
CYP19A1. If that's fast, or
Which gene should I be looking at?
CYP1A1. It's in the hormone section.
Okay, CYP one,
A1, yeah. And so funny, we were just talking about thyroid, but when we find, here's another unique nuance, when people are overall doing okay, but they seem to experience bone loss, unexplained, like they're healthy, hormones are good, but that's also thyroid related sometimes,
Really?
right? Yeah, and closely connected to cardiovascular disease. So I don't know if did your osteoporosis start around the same time as the heart issues?
I say that again, I'm sorry. No,
Did the osteoporosis start around the same time as the heart issues?
probably pretty close, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
when, after the heart attack, I wasn't allowed to do anything from a hormone standpoint.
Yeah,
But on my report, it has CYP 17A1.
yeah, that's progesterone into testosterone. So
And I
that's
have
one.
I have GG.
Sorry, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not seeing if that's the. Is there a comment next to that in terms of?
I have it, I have GG of the CYP 17A1. Is that bad?
Okay, look for 19A1.
Okay, here it is. CYP 19A1.
Yeah.
CC, like cat, CC, cat.
And what does it say next to that in terms of the description?
It just says on what I'm looking at, just has the two letters, C.
Oh, sorry, scroll down into the report.
Oh, okay.
But I would suggest, so you're saying cardiovascular and osteoporosis started around the same time at the age of 63. That also sounds like it could
Yes.
be a thyroid issue. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not supposed to give clinical advice, but we just seen this so many times that I could just tell you what we've seen.
Sure.
It sounds like thyroid also, which because you seem like you're more androgen dominant, typically osteoporosis in postmenopausal is a lack of estrogen. You need it for bone, brain, and heart health, and this is why women take hormones to maintain all of those things.
Yes.
For you, it didn't happen until 63, which means that your body was holding on and something else triggered it, which is likely thyroid. So I would basically, what I'm saying is go to a doctor and get your thyroid panel tested, a comprehensive thyroid panel.
Okay. And then I put in my text, I don't know if you saw it or not, but there were 4 areas that you said were bad for me. It was CYP 1B1 is one of them.
Yeah,
What is that all about?
that's the estrogen toxicity. That's an important, and this is like what we were talking about earlier. That's an area that drives a lot of poor health outcomes in women that needs work, right? That is likely, it could be one of the inflammatory triggers that led to your heart issues, right? So it's like thyroid is already dysregulated and now you have an inflammatory threat, so the combination can lead to heart issues. Your GSTM1 is your gut detox, and it looks like you have 0 copies there, so you have to be very careful about what you're eating, not just the food itself, but the processing chemicals, the packaging. Was it from a factory on heavy metal equipment? Like, you have to think about things beyond just the food, because you don't have a detox system in your gut. And the GSTP1AG means that your lung detox is somewhat minus 50%. So you don't do a good job of blocking inhalation or airborne based toxins like mold, chemicals, etc. So you want to avoid those things, and you likely should be taking it for all of the above that we just talked about.
Yes.
You should be taking a detox protocol daily. So we have a product called Detox Optimizer that you can use, or if you have access to anything else, go for it. NAC, glycine, I'll type them in. NAC and glycine. We actually don't make glycine, but because our Detox Optimizer has like a combination of stuff that does the job, but if you want to buy into individual products, look at those. Right?
Okay, now, I had some questions about supplements.
Sure.
From what I have in my report, it says I need a B9 and then B12 with FUT2 with an AT, said that that's an issue. I don't transport vitamin D. Obviously, I'm on statins, unfortunately. They just put me on that because my cholesterol never went down. So I assume I need a CoQ10. And I assume because of my digestion issues that a mitochondrial optimizer is something you want me to look at?
Yeah,
But
you should
I'm
do that.
asking.
Yeah. So your elevated cholesterol plus osteoporosis plus cardiovascular disease, even more so when it's late stage 63, you again check your thyroid. That could be the root of all of that. And so the B12, you want a sublingual if your FUT2 is off, your FUT2, which means under the tongue. That's going to really support, by the way, all of what we're talking about. It seems insignificant, but in your case, it is significant.
Kashif, it said FUT2 is at AT. The report said,
Yeah, so you're somewhat in the middle. So you're suboptimal. So still, I would take it sublingual under the tongue.
okay,
Or IV, like there's clinics that do IVs, but that's not a daily. That's it's better just to get a daily.
right.
Yeah, so take that, and then you said
And
you're.
what about this transporting my vitamin D is not working?
So
The
that means you need to
B9,
take multiple doses. That means that when you take your vitamin D in the morning, for you, that's not enough. You should take a second dose midday.
okay, I tend to be too high, they tell me. So it must be just
Because you
hanging,
don't transport, so it's sitting around in the blood, not being used.
right, so what
There,
dose level should I be looking at?
so you got to look at the first gene in the vitamin D cascade. The CYP, sorry, it's a CYP gene also. I'm just gonna open my stuff here. And that will tell you, I think it's CYP 1A1 or 1A2.
Okay, if it's 1A1, I have an AA, which was supposed to be slow.
One sec. Sorry, my thing's running really slow. Sorry, CYP2R1. I looked at the wrong one. CYP2R1, which is in your vitamin D cascade.
CYP2
R1.
R1. Okay, I'll look at that. It's not on this page. So CYP2 R1, what should it be?
If it's either AG or I believe GG, then you should be taking a higher dose. And if it's sorry. Just want to make sure one thing.
Oh, it's AG. Kashif, I
It's
just
AG.
found it.
Yeah, okay. So AG and suboptimal transport, I would take, where do you live?
East of Cleveland, Ohio.
So in your fall and winter, I would be taking 5,000 IU in the morning and 5,000 IU at noon. And in the summer and spring, you can kind of cut that in half.
So you said you bleeped out for a minute, 5,000?
IU in the morning
Uh-huh,
and then 5,000 IU midday.
okay,
And then I would cut that in half in the winter. Oh, sorry, in the summer.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now relative to the CoQ10, you have one of those, right?
We have a product that has CoQ10 in it, but there's a few other things in it to make it like a more optimized cocktail. Some things work better in combination with others. So the mitochondrial optimizer has multiple things in it to allow each thing to do a better job.
Okay, so I can order that through your
Yeah,
department.
yeah, it's on the website. Yeah.
Okay. And I can get the vitamin B12 from you. Do you have the vitamin B9 also?
No, not the B9. The B12, yes, and the mitochondria not. We do make vitamin D, but you need a higher dose, so it's better for you to go get a liquid. It's just easier to take a higher dose. And get
Okay.
yeah. Good.
Yeah, that's great.
All right,
I appreciate your help. Thank you so much.
no problem. It's either Kiara or Chiara. So I said both so that I got it right at least one of those times.
First one, Kiara.
First one, Kiara, okay.
So I have two questions real quick, one as a practitioner and one personal. Practitioner wise, I've done the course, everything. I've done it a couple years ago and it keeps getting better. So I've gone back and I really appreciate it. Suggestions on how, I mean, showing up for these calls has been helpful, but how to really just get more and more clear on how to help my clients. If you have any suggestions, because connecting all the dots, obviously you've been doing this for many years, but I'm still struggling to try and connect the dots and the genes and everything, how
Yeah.
you do it so well. The reports are helpful, but it just feels a little too like, you know, anyone can read the reports and regurgitate that sort of same information.
I think the cheat sheet that John was talking about earlier is really going to help. It's literally this matrix grid that like gene plus problem, and it's just very easy to scan and read. And the intention is, so it's a thing that you as a practitioner, we would say, hey, go use this, but we wouldn't go give to a consumer who's not being guided because it's too much information and somebody could hurt themselves, let's say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's coming. I think that's going to help you a lot. The other thing I would say is, you know, if there's a particular problem you're working on, for example, you know, we may be able to work with you. And I think Tracy's on here where we can even help you design a program, for example. We've done that with some clinicians where they have a mold thing or a breast cancer thing, and we can actually license and create unique insights around that. We've done that with people. So there's a discussion we had there, depending on volume and if you think it's worthwhile and all that. So,
Okay.
but the short answer is cheat sheet is coming. I'm certain it's going to solve the problem you're talking about because it's just this reference guide, so you don't need to connect the dots, right? And our intention is help you do a better job. So I think that's going to do it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And
Alright.
so, and Tracy is a good contact to just reach out to her, ping her to get more.
In terms of developing custom programs for your clinic.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
in licensing, and again, I don't know how the size or scale of what you're doing, whatever. So there's different tiers of things we can do, but we have worked with certain clinicians and third-party partners to build things that are, you know, aligned to what they do, right?
Perfect.
So, and her email is literally right there, Tracy Wood.
Yes, I've already reached out to her for something
Yeah.
else. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
And so my personal question is, I've had other genetic tests done, and I've had two very different feedbacks based on my methylation, which is poor. One clinician is telling me to avoid SAM-E, and another one is telling me to take SAM-E. And I would love to have a third perspective on the pros and cons of why SAM-E is sort of getting
So
thrown
the
around.
biggest benefit is SAMI will speed up your COMT.
Mhm,
So if your COMT is slow, you need it.
mhm.
If your COMT is fast, you don't necessarily need it, right? That's really where it's going to support you a lot. Yeah, the tricky nuance with methylation is really COMT is what stands out, because people will work on the methylation, ignore the COMT, and like, hey, let's make my methylation more efficient, but your COMT isn't doing its job, so you're just jamming up this traffic jam of garbage to get rid of that. There's no COMT doing its job. So we usually start with COMT. Like,
Okay,
let's open up the door and then get methylating better. So that's what it's for. It's for COMT. So take a look at your COMT.
yeah, COMT is slow.
Yeah, so then you need it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So actually, sorry, COMT I have AG, so that's normal.
It's kind of in the middle. It's not fast, it's not slow. So it's not detrimental. So then again, then you start to think functionally, okay, do I make toxic estrogens? Then this becomes a priority. I don't, then I don't really need to deal with it.
Okay.
Why?
Perfect.
Because it also clears your neurochemicals. It also clears your hormones, right? So you tweak it here, it's going to tweak other things too, right?
Yeah.
So look at your estrogen toxins. If those are there, then yeah, speed it up. If they're not there, then leave it alone.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, no problem. Okay, Vincent.
So I'm obviously not Vincent,
Yes.
that's my son, but I'm Amelia.
Hey, Amelia.
Yeah, hi. So my most important question is about hormone replacement therapy. And when I have, well, I'm androgen balanced. I'm in kind of menopause. I have no uterus. And I have poor detoxification, next to zero, I guess. I'm lacking one of the genes. And then I have bad genes for estrogen metabolism into mostly the 4-hydroxy estrogen. And I was given hormone replacement therapy before I knew this. And I had estrogen cream, and I got very, very sick with headaches, and I had to go to the ER. They thought I had what's it called, a stroke, but it turned out, I think that was my conclusion, that it was the estrogen. So I went off this hormone replacement therapy and it went away. But my question is now is, how do I take a hormone replacement therapy? Because I still have the problems with very poor sleep with the night sweats, which makes me wake up like 10 times per night. I'm worried about the energy level in my brain, obviously, and like oxygen to the brain while I sleep and so on. But is it dangerous for me to take this hormone replacement therapy? Should I not do it? Just have these symptoms and go on with my life, or should I take it and maybe detox at the same time?
There's benefit obviously in it, right? And so the challenge is you were probably taking estradiol. Do you know what you were taking?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
estradiol, so you have a fast 4-hydroxy pathway, then
Yeah.
you added estradiol, and estradiol converts into 4-hydroxy. That's what happens, right? And you have the
Okay.
fast conversion. So you were fueling a crazy toxin fire, which is why you felt so horrible. So the
Yeah.
answer is, let's figure out not if, but what you can take. So there's estriol, which most clinicians don't recommend because it's nowhere near as potent as estradiol. Right? Let's call it a weaker version. But in your case, let's get the benefit of the weaker version because you can't handle the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So at least you'll get some benefit of brain health, bone health, all of what you're looking for. And add some detox in there also. So if you're going to be taking it, make sure you're detoxing and methylating properly. So I would also look at your methylation COMT, what we just talked about, right? COMT and methylation.
Yeah.
So if you take care of detox, take care of COMT and methylation, and you do not take estradiol, you should be fine. But again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not supposed to prescribe anything, and I'm not prescribing anything. I'm saying take
No,
that
of course.
information back to whoever your doctor is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and if you want our clinicians to help you with that, they can, like we have a hormone clinic, we can do that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
we can be a little more precise using the gene. So either take that information back to your doctor, have them tweak it, or have our guys work on it for you.
So a quick question. I live in Sweden.
Okay.
So I don't know if I could be using your clinicians. My doctor here in Sweden, which he's a very good doctor, but he has no idea about this different pathways and the 4-hydroxy, 16-hydroxy. He had never heard about it. So I can't get very much help from him.
Okay.
So I don't know, but can I from Sweden, can I use your services or is that not
Yeah, the only
possible?
consideration is shipping, and I don't know the answer to that. I do know that Sweden is one of the easier countries to work with. You know, there's some
Okay.
places like France, for example, very difficult to ship, you know. So we can check on that for you if you want to send an email to one of us, either client care or Tracy, or just because her email is already here, and she is our operations director and deals with the hormone clinic itself.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I would
perfect.
send her a note.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's excellent. And I hope all of this work that you're doing, I hope it's coming to Sweden as well, because we need it here. Nobody knows
yeah.
about this stuff. And,
Yeah.
so if you want to open something in Sweden, I will be there to help you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's needed everywhere. So I'm actually leaving for London tomorrow for England for a health summit there. We're coming to speak and educate that part of the world on what we do. It's a
Yeah.
global need. We're all humans with the same problem, so it's got to be everywhere. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's nice to hear. Good. Thank you. That was my most important question. Thank
All right.
you.
Amazing. Patricia.
Hi, can you see me? Hang on, I'm working on it. Hey.
We see you. We see like half of your. Oh, there we go. Now we see
I
you.
know, I'm working on it. Okay,
All right.
hi.
How are you doing?
I sent you a lot of my information in the chat, just
Okay.
my genes. Can you find it? It was early on in like the first 5 minutes, just to save.
Yeah. Just into fast 191, fast 1B1. Prompt is not the best. GSTT1, yeah. So everything we've been talking about in the last little bit applies to you, right? SRD, UGTB. So you have a blessing, an incredible blessing of the 0G9P21. You're like top 2% of the population there.
Which one are you talking about?
9P210G means that you have an extremely resilient endothelium.
Mhm.
The best it could possibly be. We very, very, very rarely see this. Yeah. So cardiovascular.
I have the FOXO4 too, longevity.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. So that's an amazing combo. So I would say that the standout thing here that needs work is the estrogen toxic pathway. And again, that's one of the more complex things to work with. It's not a singular answer. The single answer is to slow down your estrogen dominance and to clear that estrogen toxicity, which means I mean, we have a product called Female E, which slows down the estrogen dominance, and then there's detox.
At it. I did like 8 hours of research, so I would be succinct. And that's all the things, green tea and all those things, resveratrol, like I'm dialed there. That's why I'm surprised my ApoB is that high.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, if you're that level of estrogen toxicity, like fast estrogen dominance, which we don't see often, by the way, there's a lot of estrogen dominance that's mid. No, very few people that are like super fast. So that there's a lot of estrogen being pumped through your system, right? So yeah, so the inflammatory markers can kick in. Your ApoE3 gene, I would also look at. If your ApoE3 is a 3-4 or a 4-4, it would explain why lipid levels are higher as a baseline. You know, there's some people that don't transport lipids well, and so the higher number doesn't necessarily mean something bad. It just means that that's your normal. What the more important thing is if it's going up. So having a high number that's static isn't the same bad news as a high number that's continuing to increase when you're not intervening, like you're not taking a statin or something. If your ApoE3 gene is off, which is in your cardiovascular section. So if you see a 3-4 or a 4-4, that may explain the higher lipids, right?
I do know, I'm not finding it this second, because I have pages, but my lipids it says like only do 20%. But the thing is like I love fats. Like I love
Yeah.
avocado, and I mean I should take more probably olive oil, but I do MCT oil and coconut butter and
Yeah. Fat, the difference we're talking about. So metabolizing fat is one thing. Then your body producing or using cholesterol as a tool is rooted in inflammation. So that's your body trying to suppress inflammation by deploying cholesterol. So two different things. ApoE3 is more how efficiently does your body use cholesterol as a tool, the actual transport, and some people don't do that well there, which is why they build up amyloid plaque in the brain and get dementia, which is why the ApoE3 gene is tied to dementia. Doesn't cause it, it's more about the plaque. So I would just take a look at that, the ApoE3, to see if you're 3, 4, or 4, 4, which would explain
no,
that.
I'm a 3-3. I can't find it, but like I just
3-3?
researched. I'm a 3-3.
Okay. Well, then it's likely the inflammation being caused by the estrogen toxicity. That's probably why you have, yeah.
Okay, so I can repeat that. So estrogen
Then this
toxicity.
higher number was likely due to the inflammation being caused by the estrogen toxicity. So that is
Okay.
your primary concern out of what we see here. It's detox, slowing down the estrogen pathway, and yeah, those two big things. And again, because this is a complex area, it's always recommended you work with a coach or a clinician. You can go on and on your own. Seems like you do a lot of research, but
I've called. I'm still waiting for him to call me back. It's been a few days, but if I heard you right, this is what I saw is like heard you say is I'm on currently bioidentical hormones, and so the biest estriol and the estradiol. So should I find somebody or talk with your people to say I should just be on estriol and not estradiol? Because I do have worse, whatever the conversion to the O4, hydroxy O4.
Yeah, your estradiol is the bad news for you. So what we were just talking about, with Amelia is like your same threat, right? So I would definitely either take this information to your doctor and tell them what you know, for them to, or have one of our coaches build you a proper plan that's unique to you. This is a very important area to focus on. It points to a lot of potential problems. It also points to preventing a lot of major problems. That you have to focus on this. Yeah.
I got that. One of the things that's been low on me when I tested was testosterone. I looked up the formula for your male E, and it's same thing like green tea, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I wanted to ask you if you're familiar at all of there's a blend called Bedoja agrestis and Tonga Ali, or what other things for naturally getting testosterone up? I know weight training, I can't do it yet because I was in a bad car accident.
So this is where your measure is different than other people's measure. You don't need to get your testosterone level up. That's remember, you are ultra fast converter into estrogen. So it's not that you have low testosterone, it's that you're using it all and turning it all into estrogen. So if you add more testosterone, it's going to lead you to just more estrogen. You don't want to do that, right? So you're the one size fits all answer doesn't apply to you. You're good where you're at. Don't add more testosterone. Tongkat Ali, yes, would do the job, but I wouldn't do that because you're ultra converting it into estrogen and then estrogen toxicity. So that's why your number is low. It's not because you don't have enough, it's because you use it all, convert it into estrogen. So I would leave it.
According to the report, I'm estrogen balanced, and my testosterone, when it was low, I was apathetic. What I did was by getting my DHEA up, it took my testosterone at least into the low side of normal. But you're saying that's where I should be, is a low side of normal?
Your normal is different than a normal.
And does weight training, I know that I listened to like
weight training.
Weight training helps.
Weight training, breathing, breath holding exercises like swimming type activity. So yeah, weight training will be as heavy as you can go type resistance training will help you with that.
And another question I did have from a previous podcast is you talked about breath holding. Is there any that you think are better? Like Wim Hof has that. Is there any?
Yeah, I would look up a guy named Ari Whitten. I'll type it in here. So Ari Witten does a really cool program called the Energy Blueprint, which focuses around things like breath holding, etc. He's really good at that stuff. So I would look up his program.
Okay.
There's some free stuff, there's some free portions, there's some paid portions. Even the free stuff, you're gonna get really good value out of it.
And my feedback you had asked is I would love to do a coaching program that's not a year. And so I would love to see a coaching program that I could do even for 3 months. My type of personality, I'm never going to do anything for a year. And
Yeah.
maybe that's kind of where you guys get the bonus payments. But 3 to 6 months, I mean, I would have it dialed. I'm pretty researched. I know what I'm doing. I'm already doing 90% of good stuff.
Yeah.
But I would love to have access to one of your subscriptions without it being a year commitment.
So we do have a 1-month program, but it's a deep dive program. So it's not the subscription, but it's a clinical program. For that, I would email client care, or
Mhm.
even, I'll give you an email address of someone to speak to. 1 second, and just say you're inquiring about the what we call the GDP program, and I'll put both of those in here. I'm just putting it in the chat. There you go. Email Allison and ask about the GDP program.
And is methylation, is that the one where it's like whether you need B-cobalamin instead of, or not B-cobalamin? Is that the methylation pathway?
Yeah, methylation. Yes, it's B complexes. So B9, B12, folic acid, folinic acid, and that stuff is spelt out in the report. Like it tells you, based on this gene, take this. Based on this gene, take this. It's all your B complexes, which are really important for dealing with inflammation.
And I, like somebody else, I would love to be able to print for me all of my information instead of shuttling back between the different things. I would love to be able to just have one long report, so I don't have to keep flipping back. So thank you so much.
I agree. Everyone's saying that, and we're making that summary for the clinicians. It's a cheat sheet, and for everybody else, it's like a summary guide. So that's being made.
So, hey, Cash, if I can just hop in here for you real quick.
Yeah.
We're happy to get her reports and whatnot. But you have a bunch of other people that have questions, and we're already running over.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Okay. So Jody, I'm just going. By the way, I'm just going in the order that I see them. So, and I see just so you know where we're at. I see Jody, Monica. Sorry. Jody, Monica, Dirk, Trudy, Karen, and Kathy. Just so you know. Go ahead, Jody.
My question goes back to the thyroid. How does your thyroid fit into your genes? And what causes it to get out of control? It seems maybe females, we have more problems with it.
Yeah, it's thyroid is a much bigger problem than we think it is. Thyroid medication used to be the #1 prescribed medication until cholesterol and Lipitor took over. But a big majority of what Lipitor is dealing with is a thyroid problem. One of the outcomes is cholesterol elevation, right? So it's a very sensitive area that our environmental inputs, our stress, our lack of sleep, our food, all disrupting our hormones. And this is why we say endocrine disruption is so important. Your hormone disruption, that some of the other layers of your hormones can kind of deal with it, the thyroid can't. And when it gets into a disease state, it's very hard to heal. Not hard, I should say, it just takes a long time to heal. So it's the reality that we live in. Hormone disruption, birth control pills, chemicals, plastics. There's too much hormone disruption, and the thyroid cannot handle the load. And so it just basically gives up, stops doing its job properly. So it's more than just what hormones do I take. It's everything about what you breathe, that you put on your skin, the cosmetics, the sunscreens, all of it, even your clothing. Like if you're buying clothing that has fabrics that have forever chemicals in them, you know, even that, the fast fashion that we're now dealing with. All of the above is why we have a thyroid problem today. And the reverse is also true. If you have a very clean, stress-free, circadian rhythm based life, meaning you do things as per your monthly cycle, you don't overdo it on your menstrual days, you take advantage of other days, and you work to your circadian rhythm, your body's kind of at peace, right? But we don't do that. We go to the gym every day. We you know, work hard every day. We have a very go-go American culture that's not aligned to the female circadian rhythm, right? So I don't know if
Thank
that
you.
answers your question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Okay, Monica. I think I put Monica to sleep.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh no, no problem.
Hi,
Hey,
I have a question about my detox pathway.
yeah,
I according to my reports, I have I don't have any like GSTT1, I'm 0, and also GSTM1, I'm 0.
okay.
Now, recently, or I've been having some health problems, and my doctor, she sent me to see a rheumatologist because they are she suspected I may have a lupus. So my question is, how can I support my detox pathway?
Yeah.
You know, to help with, even if I have lupus, or what should I look for?
So yeah, a lot of these so your doctor's trying to figure out what to call the way you feel, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And the way you feel is likely crazy. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 48,
And where do you live?
Colorado.
Colorado. Okay. In the city, like with pollution, or?
Well, it's a big city, but I'm close to the mountains, and I try to, you know, eat clean and do everything what I can to
Okay.
you know, reduce the exposure, I would say.
Okay. So GSTT1 and TM10 means you literally don't have a glutathione system. So everything is a threat. And if everything is a threat and you're 48 years old and you've had 48 years old of exposure, 48 years of exposure, eventually, and now you're at the age where your mitochondria are starting to deplete and you can no longer sort of fight back. So it's going to equal words like lupus. Not that you, I know, not, I'm again not diagnosing. Your doctor may be right, maybe you have lupus, but we've seen over and over and over again that, you know, you are just highly inflamed, your cells are struggling, organs are struggling, and you need a heavy detox support, a protocol support. There's probably parasites, you know, there's probably other things going on, because when you have that many years of toxic exposure, and it starts to lead other things to happen easier, so that your body, which typically can, you know, handle, like I said, parasitic activity or viral activity, also can't handle that because it's struggling in other places. So sometimes there's sleeper viruses, like, you know, things like herpes, or you know, some of the, I don't know, there's plenty of sleeper viruses that get activated during when the cells are under stress. So long story short is that I would go through a heavy liver detox regimen. I would probably go through a very intense fast, like a 7-day master cleanse, you know, just water, some minerals, lemon, like no amino acids, no proteins, no metabolic activity. And let your body get into deep autophagy. Autophagy is like the removal and, you know, death of old mutated cells and reproduction of healthy new cells. Let the liver revive itself. I would also get tested for fatty liver and see if that's happening. It likely is based on your detox profile, which means 0 carbs, sugar, even fruit for some time to allow the fatty liver to reverse itself. Sugar from fruit, even fructose, gets metabolized by the liver. So anyways, start with testing yourself for fatty liver. Your doctor might say, oh, you don't have fatty liver symptoms, just push for it, ask for it. And if you find that's the case, then it's like 0 fruit, sugar, carbs, starches for a good couple months. Allow the liver to heal. And then do that liver detox, and I would do a heavy fast. Then once you're out of all that stuff, it's maintenance. Now, being in the mountains isn't always the best news because the pollution from the city kind of settles, you know, in places you wouldn't think of, including the mountain, which literally, that's why I don't know if you've heard of this phenomenon called a Chinook, which happens in certain places where hot air kind of comes over and the temperature can completely change. So mountains have a crazy effect on airflow, including trapping pollution in. Right, so if you're at the base of a mountain, you might be at the base of exactly where all the pollution gets trapped.
Oh,
And
no, and I am,
yeah, so
because literally I have mountains like on my backyard, so.
yeah, so that's another major concern is you probably are living at that line of like, here's where the pollution is just kind of floating around and doesn't exit because the mountains are blocking it, right? So so yeah, so all of what I said, check for fatty liver, crazy liver detox, 7-day fast, let the body recover, get into autophagy, support the mitochondria. We have a product called Mitochondrial Optimizer that will do that for you. If the liver is fatty, you have to do an extended no carb, sugar, fat, no fruit, even for like a good 2 months, let it recover, get tested again. Sorry?
I'm sorry, do you think carnivore diet will work?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Okay.
carnivore diet. The only thing I would say is check your ApoA2 gene.
I'm 3-3, so,
Not ApoA3, the ApoA2 gene.
oh,
It's in the
ApoE2.
diet section. And if it's off, then I would not stay on the carnivore diet, as someone said earlier, for more than 8 weeks. I would just use it as a therapeutic tool. So cycle on and off. Give yourself 1 month resting periods in between.
I'm AA,
AA,
ApoE A2 AA.
ApoA2 you're looking at, right? The ApoA2 gene? Yeah. So you're AA, so you're an amazing fat metabolizer. So you can actually, and what's your TCF7L2, your insulin response?
I think it's not optimal. I think TCF7L2,
Yeah,
GT.
GT. So it's not horrible. So I would still, so all I would say is go ahead and you can use carnivore not only as therapy, but also as a regular diet. But if you ever feel like it's making you feel sluggish, that's your insulin response being triggered by too much fat. So I would either reduce the size of the meal or cycle off for a few weeks.
Okay. And my other question is about the hormones. So about the estrogen, I'm estrogen balanced, but it says that my CYP19A1 is TT. That means I'm higher risk of have estrogen toxicity, right?
I think the GG is the fast one.
Okay.
Yeah, TT, I think is
For some reason, the report, it says that I'm higher risk to have estrogen toxicity.
it could be the CYP3A4. What is your CYP3A4? CYP3A4.
For I cannot find it right now. I don't want to hold
It's in the
anybody
hormone
back.
section. So just take a look at that. Your CYP1B1 may be fine, but CYP3A4 makes 16 hydroxy, which is another toxin. It's actually more toxic than the 4. So just take a look at that. It could be that. And then
Okay.
everything we've been saying is also true there. It's just a different
Okay.
word. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
no problem. All right, Dirk.
Hi there.
Hey.
I don't have a specific question about a report. I haven't gotten my report yet, but
Okay.
there's always been this conflict between the advocates of whole food plant-based diets and the ketogenic diets like paleo. Now, 30 years ago, Dean Ornish and Caldwell Esselstyn both did clinical research and practiced reversing heart disease with whole foods plant-based diet. And so I think the conflict really, the answer to the question, who's right, is it depends based on functional genomics that you've done. And so it depends on your particular genetic code. But what does that say about the research from Ornish and Esselstyn and Michael Greger says that whole food plant-based diet has been shown to be the optimal diet, and no other diet has shown the ability to reverse and mitigate heart disease.
Yeah. So that's a 1-hour conversation on its own. What I can tell you is, short answer, what you said, yes, personalization through genetics. It's not the same truth for everybody. The second answer is that when it comes to plant-based, there's this acute response where you heal. And anybody coming out of a standard American diet going into a plant-based diet is going to heal. Right? Now, the plant-based foods that now exist are not what they were at the time those guys wrote that book. Right? They're not at all the same. They're processed garbage. You're buying sausages that should be literally used to, anyways, I shouldn't even say that, but it's nonsense. It's not the same thing. So there are the two considerations. The people in the study just came off of eating donuts and Twinkies and were put on a plant-based diet. So they healed. It worked. But what was their lifestyle prior to? If you look deep into the study, you'll see a lot of this. Second thing is, it's very hard for somebody on a plant-based diet today to thrive. The beans and cheese and lentils all have paraquats on them. They're all neurodegenerative. The corn is all GMO sugar. You know, so the protein is a major challenge. That's in short for plant-based today. Now the other proponent is those studies are all short-term. Longitudinally, as you get into, say, menopause or menopause, like you start to age, you start to lose 3% of your muscle tissue every year. You need the right amino acid profile and the right proteins to maintain that. And you can't get it from plant unless you're highly supplementing, right? So just like I said about carnivore, I would use it as a therapeutic tool. I would say, let me go plant-based for 3 months. And it probably is going to help you a lot with a lot of things. For some women, they're going to start having hormone problems. For some people, they're going to start having mood issues. For some people, are going to start to feel other inflammatory type stuff. It's very, very hard with today's food to thrive that way. And when we look at the genetics, most people are not designed for it. The person for whom it is designed for, that anomaly, do your plant-based diet, get your high quality, good stuff, source it properly, and you can do it forever. But there aren't many people that fit in that category. So that's kind of my answer there.
Okay, thanks. I'll leave it at that. I have other questions around that, but go on with your next person because we're short on time.
Yeah, no, thanks. Trudy.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I was just thinking about what you were talking about and the fact that there are no minerals in the soil is not the same. It's not the same. And like what you were talking about, the pesticides, the insecticides, all the other things that you're dealing with. And the fact that you're not even growing your own food, you don't know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, well, my question, I don't know what the GG for the COMT, is it the GG, is it slow, is it fast?
Is the GG slow or fast? So the GG
Mm.
is the highest activity, so the fast version. So it means you clear your neurochemicals fast, you clear your hormones fast, and you are very efficient when it comes to methylation.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, that's the mold. I had a issue with mold that I did not know about,
Mhm.
and got tested and was on the Shoemaker protocol for CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. One thing I find, when I did the testing, I have very high homocysteine. I have like undetectable progesterone. And when I eat, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I fast because sometimes I eat, well, I have to fast sometimes in the morning, get work done, and then eat, and then lie down or something like that. And I'm not sure, I'm doing all this stuff with the genes to try to figure out what's the issue and
Yeah.
why I have an issue.
So when it comes to mold, you're looking in two areas, the GST gene, so GSTP1, which is your airborne blocker, right? So your mold blocker. But you're also
GST1.
GSTP1, yeah. And
Okay,
you're
that's the AG.
so you're minus 50%. So the mold gets in, let's say, right? And then you're looking at GSTT1 to see how many copies you have to give you an idea how well you cope with all that mold that you let in.
2.
So you're doing good on the clearance side, right? So it's getting in, probably a trickle of inflammation, and you're clearing it. Now, in order to truly understand the mold story, you also have to go back to the hormone section, and the
Okay.
genes that clear the DHT, the UGTB genes, they also clear mold very specifically. They go in your body and look for mold. So the UGTB genes, they're in the hormone
see.
section. And you have to see what's going on there. So GSTP and TT are kind of like this first line of defense. Let's get rid of the stuff, but really the bulk of it is dealt with UGT.
UGT.
It's in the hormone section.
Okay, so that's a GG.
For which one?
The UGT 1A1.
UGT 1A1. There should be either a 1.5 or a 1.7.
Okay, 1.5 is a 1. No, 1.5 is a GT, 1.7 is a 1.
Okay, so your clearance isn't the best for both, right?
Okay.
So mold would definitely be a problem for you. And it's likely that even if you've dealt with it, you may still be having mycotoxin activity in your body. And so what you need is a mycotoxin detox. And that's probably why you don't feel good when you eat, because you're already metabolically stressed, like the cells are dealing with this threat. And then all of a sudden you add metabolic activity and your body's like, I'm not ready for all this right now. Right. So, and then it'll make you feel sluggish. So, I would suggest a mycotoxin fast. Sorry, not fast, a detox protocol. There's somebody we work with named Bridget Danner, who's really good at mold detox. And there's also Jill Carnahan. So if you want some like free resources, I would go to Jill
Yes.
Carnahan. If you want work, this is an area where the GDP program we talked about earlier, our 1 month condensed program could really help you, because it's like it's not like we're going through everything, we're just trying to fix one problem. So I would again talk to Allison, whose email I'll put in here, about the GDP program. Because this is exactly what that program was designed for. Let's fix one problem. You have a mold toxicity problem, we're gonna hyper focus on that. So I just put her email in there if you want to reach out. Otherwise, I would go to
Okay.
Jill Carnahan's website, and she has a lot of free resources. I think she even has like free ebooks on mold toxicity and mycotoxin. So there's some.
What's her name? Jill.
I put them both. So Jill Carnahan is not from us. She's a third party. She just happens to be really good when it comes to mold and detox and the
Okay.
mycotoxin. Then what I put in after that, Allison is our team member who can help you understand
Okay.
our program around mold,
Got you.
right? So those are the two
Where
things I
did
would
it just go to? Okay. And why is progesterone undetectable?
undetectable.
Mm,
What do you mean in your results?
It's very low, yes.
What kind of diet? What do you eat? Like, are you plant-based, meat-based, mixed, a little bit of everything?
Mix a little bit of everything.
Okay. So you need adequate cholesterol to make progesterone. And you also need adequate oxytocin to make all your hormones. So cholesterol, you need to have enough, and you need to have good, high-quality relationships to have oxytocin. Yeah, so that might be a problem. Sounds like. So, those two things are required to have your base hormones, and that's why love and touching and all of that stuff is not just something we want, it's something our body needs. Right? So those are the two things that would explain. So your CYP17A1 gene will explain how efficiently you make testosterone, progesterone, but if your progesterone is indetectable, you probably need to, I would say, just like we said for some other people here, try a carnivore diet,
Okay.
right? Try going carnivore and just heavy fat for a while. That might help you get the cholesterol you need. And try focusing on your relationships and whoever's around you, because that's the oxytocin is a base hormone where other hormones don't function properly if you don't have enough. Doesn't sound like medicine, but it is. Even if it's
Okay.
as simple as getting a cat or a dog or like going to a zoo, just that feeling of like you need oxytocin to make your other hormones.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, thank you.
Karen, Kathy, and Annalisa. So thank you first of all for being so patient. But Karen, go ahead.
I had some questions, Kashif, about my hormones, and
Sure.
specifically, I've had a total hysterectomy, and I've been off and on HRT for the last 20 some years. And I'm just wondering what my DNA results can sort of help me to know what my HRT should be.
Okay.
And I
so-
sent all my numbers to you. They're just about the third from the last of the chats.
Okay, let's take a look here.
And when you've had a total hysterectomy, how does that affect your DNA and like?
Well, it's kind of like menopause. You start making your hormones from your adrenals instead of from the system that you no longer have, right?
Okay.
So you're still making hormones. They're coming from your adrenals, and so it is stressful on the body if you are stressed. Meaning if there's a lot of demand on the body, it's not healthy. So you do need to take it easy. Let's say, right? You don't, all systems aren't firing anymore. So the adrenals the adrenals were designed to make your hormones after you get into menopause at a much lower level. So, but you're saying it's been what, 20 years, did you say?
It's actually been 28 years. I'm
Yeah.
68 and I had it when I was 40. So yeah.
Yeah, so your body has been pushing itself aggressively on a path that it was not designed to. So that is a load on the adrenal. So I would focus on adrenal health. There's a lot of supplements, there's a lot of things you can do to support that, right? Very important in your case. So now just flipping through here.
My reports say estrogen dominant.
Yeah. I don't see the 190. I said you have the 17A1, the 19A1. Do you see that?
The UGT be 17.
No, it's CYP 19A1. It's in the hormone section.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, there it is. ET.
Okay, so yeah, estrogen dominant for sure. Good news is there's no toxicity, which is really the problem. Your cardiovascular profile is the worst possible outside of ACE activity, which we don't see here, which is about dilation. So you really need to focus on let's see. Your androx is efficient. Do you do any type of exercise?
Just walking. I do my,
Walking?
yep.
I think it highly recommended that you start doing some kind of resistance training. Even if
Okay.
it's just bands, like you don't need to go to a bench press, even elastic bands, you need to stress your muscles. So you're really efficient at using your androgens. And you want to do that before converting into estrogen because you are estrogen dominant. And just looking what else is here. Mitochondrial, and you have really good mitochondrial health, so you can push your body. I almost like for you, resistance training is like a form of therapy. You know, you should be doing it to add to your longitudinal health, to reduce the load on your hormone system. You also have the cardiovascular risk. Yeah, so weight training, and I would also take some, we make a product called Female E. If you have access to DIM, you can take that Female E, full cocktail, like there's a lot more going on than just the DIM, which will help you slow down the estrogen a little bit and allow you to have more androgens, more, and I'm saying this because of what I see in the overall picture. There's not one particular thing, but just how to get you like more homeostatic and balanced.
So you said get some female E and
Yes.
DIM?
Either or. So if you already have DIM, I just wasn't sure what's in your medicine drawer, right? To take it, but if you don't, use Female E. It has multiple things in it. That cocktail, it's the right proportions.
Okay.
So I would say that plus resistance training, and like 5 days a week type of thing. Get some bands, find some YouTube videos for band exercises. Once you build it up, start going to barbells and, you know, push your body, like go heavy, try and push your body towards heavy.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you recover very quickly, so you'll do it, you'll get through it. You're going to feel good. It's gonna, your neurochemicals are gonna start firing a little bit better. You're going to, the first 2 weeks are gonna be horrible, right? You're gonna be sore, you're gonna like it, it's the routine, but once you your body adapts to it, you're never gonna want to let it go. You're gonna feel really good.
Okay. All right.
So there's no like red flag we're dealing with here. There's no like clinical issue. I'm just saying that there's a level of optimization of slowing down the estrogens and bringing in some resistance training, which is going to, you know, give you more, you know, longevity. Let's just say that.
Okay, I've got one more quick question.
Sure.
I had these results done for both of my sons, and my oldest son is 41 and he's estrogen dominant. And on that CYP19A1, he's a TT. And he is, as he gets older, he seems to be putting on weight. And he seems
He
to
needs to
be,
slow that down. So
yes,
the simple answer for him is we make a product called Male E.
male E. Okay.
Yeah, and he's gonna feel it right away.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's gonna.
heard you mention that yesterday or last week, and
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you specifically about that. Okay.
It's designed for exactly what you're describing. It's gonna make him feel great.
Okay.
And
All right.
After
That's everything.
okay, and after a couple weeks of Male E, also get him into the resistance training.
Okay.
Right?
Good.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Okay, no problem. Kathy,
Hi, Kashif.
hey, how you doing?
Thank you so much. This is so much good information here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so as you know, I like to solve the problem with my son.
Yes,
It's been a 3.5 year journey. He's
yes,
been to 10 hospitals and 10 treatment centers.
yeah,
So I got his genes and in front, I have it in the chat.
yeah,
I'm definitely considering the clinician training because I see the power of this. This is so amazing.
yeah,
But in as far as like just a deep dive, because I would love to taper him off of the antipsychotic medications.
Mhm.
And I know that's like quite a journey and it's not easy. How does one taper off safely? I mean, do you have clinicians who can help with that?
Yeah, so that I'm obviously familiar with your son's case, right? This is not an easy answer. First of all, the goal, yes, is possible. The path is not as simple. Hey, take this advice and go. It's work. It's work, and it has to be done very carefully because you can very easily slip in the wrong direction, and then it all falls apart. So there are things that to be done. For example, introduction of certain foods that actually upregulate dopamine and serotonin slowly, right? When you introduce those and you can turn other things down. Introduction of certain exercises that upregulate. First of all, he has to be ready to do the exercises, right? So we have to get him to that state. So and then it's slowly, then it's also the pharmaco and understanding what the right prescription is, what the right dose is. So it's not a single answer, it's a multifactorial complex program. But I do believe there's a path for him. He has to be able to do the things we're saying, which is why step one isn't even trying to fix anything. Step one is just getting him on board. And the coaches are good at that too. Like is he even willing to show up to a phone call, right? So like that kind of thing, get him on, get him understanding this is not about mom, this is about me. He has to start feeling that way, right? That's step one. And then you start basic things, start eating this food, something as simple as saffron, right? He starts eating saffron, potent neural network fixer, dopamine upregulator, and then you give him a supplement and you start some exercises, then you start working on the medication. So the answer is yes, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it is work, and it's not something that like I just hand it over to someone, go do exercise and go do this, you're gonna feel good. In your case, I don't think it's that simple. It's work, and somebody has to be hands-on.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like, thank goodness that I know you and know of your program, and also having the support, because I feel like he sometimes agrees like to go gluten-free, dairy-free, for example, and then sometimes he doesn't. Like with the meds, cause metabolic syndrome, and he's gained like 80 pounds.
Yeah.
And then he sleeps 12 to 14 hours. So, even just walking, he used to have a six-pack, and now he's not even interested in walking.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's a combination of both his willingness and then also having my support of the nutrition side and knowing what supplements to give him when, because thank God he's been stable for a year now. He's been back home. So I'm able to have some control over the food, and some of those like saffron, like I could add that into his diet. So like, for example, I think his gene says like, would he do well with ketogenic diet, or for how long, the fat metabolism, should I focus more on that? And, what other labs should I be doing? All those are probably coaching questions. And methylfolate versus folinic acid, all those detailed questions.
Yeah, I think his journey looks like a 4 or 5 month journey. And it's like on day one, I wouldn't even be asking those questions. Day one is just getting him in the right mindset, getting him on board, helping him understand how his brain works. So there's an aha moment of, oh, I don't have a problem. I've just been misaligned in my habits to my genetic makeup, right? And that light bulb going off is just step one, right? And so that he's actually willing to make changes. And then so it's like a 4 or 5 month thing. And then I don't even think you're talking about supplements and everything until the second month. You know, first month is just his awareness, getting him on board, getting him making tiny changes. Because the smaller and more incremental you move, the more permanent it is. Because you want a solution. You don't want another band-aid, right? So it's these incremental, ongoing, stacked improvements that equal something bigger at the end. That's where health coaches are really good, and then the science sprinkled into the health coaching so they know what to do. It would look like that. It would look like the first month, it's none of what you think is needed. It's just getting him ready to change, you know, but permanently ready, right? And then you sprinkle in the foods and then the supplements and the exercises. Then you look at the medication. Then you look at getting them all off medication. Then there's much bigger changes. Like we're going to the gym now. We're like that permanent identity change. It's months.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm expecting more like a year to 2 years, but if, you know,
Yeah.
if you say 4 to 5 months, that's awesome. Do you have specific coaches or clinicians who can help with this process,
Yeah,
especially with
I would
such a
say
complex case?
on our end, Dr. Laura is a PhD that understands the brain well. There's some medical intervention required, so one of our MDs, Dr. Boyce, would probably have to be involved. This is a good question for Tracy, who I know you're connected to also, right? What does this program look like? It would probably be a mixture of scientists, MD. I may also intervene at some point with some suggestions, right? So it's going to be a mixture of all that.
Yes, yes, and I would be curious and to learn more also about the clinician. I mean, I don't have any clients or patients, but I know so many people need this help.
Yeah.
With the loved one, the mom or the, you know, the parent, whoever it is taking care of someone with such a complex case. And to have that support, to give that support and to have a program that would help, you know, that this population.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. This is what we had mentioned earlier, where, you know, when we work with partners, we can build custom programs, and we do that with partners. So it's possible, right? We have a mental health study that we may be launching with a hospital here in Toronto also. We haven't decided whether to pull the trigger. So there's so that can be done. A program can be developed, right? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to decide, should I mean, I think definitely I should take care of myself first, because it took me a while to even like get into your report and to like, how do you say, like the healer heal thyself, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, should I join the, you know, that year-long program but then also at the same time join the clinician program, or kind of do that first and then do the other one? Because I feel like my brain is not optimized to remember all these things.
Yeah, if you want to understand what path to take, I'll drop Allison's email in there. She understands all the programs, and, you know, I think you also were connected to Jason. Was that right?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, you can just talk to him also, because he understands the different programs, right? And what's the right path? Training, yes, that's a permanent tool that's now in your toolkit. You're now armed to use this for yourself and for others in your practice. But for yourself, the training is part and parcel of the program, so they're kind of intertwined, and you're going to get it anyway, right? So
Right. Yeah. So I'm just trying to decide like would I get the support that I need for my son, because it is so complex and my brain is not optimized to really, you know.
for you doing
go
it on
at
your own, no, I wouldn't suggest that. Like, keep in mind, there's the knowledge that you would get from the training, which normally is great. Your son's case is very complex, right? So I would not go on that on my own. No.
Yeah, no, I
There's gotta
didn't
be
think so.
some MD in sciences. Yeah, for sure. No, you get the training is for everybody else, not for your son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Thank you.
Annalisa.
Give me a second.
Sure.
Hi.
Hey, you're very patient.
Yeah, no worries. I'm learning a lot anyways. So my question is about my hormones. I listened to your hormone last week, the webinar, and it looks like I'm pretty much damaged. But But can I share my give me a second. Sharing my report. I can share the dashboard, right?
Let me see if you can share.
Okay.
Oh, here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm creating a lot of cysts in my breast, and it's kind of scary, but so far it's been benign. The few times I've been very scared. But it keeps I have 3 on my left, 4 on my right. It's just I don't know when it's gonna be when it's gonna be like the time that it's not benign anymore. That's pretty much in my mind. And then from the profile hormone talk that you did last week, it's looking into my hormone profile. It seems like I have a lot to work on. So I don't know if how much connected that, of course, is perhaps connected to my hormones. And the person, the radiologist that who I spoke with, reading my profile, my diseases, she said that I'm estrogen dominant. They're just people, but in the I don't know if I read it wrong, but it says that in my hormone profile, I'm normal.
Okay. And when did these cysts start?
Well, actually, about I'll say 12 years ago, there's a one cyst in my breast. About 12 years ago, I'm 32 or 31 at the time. 30 years old. I have one cyst and it says it's benign, but it's a big cyst. So, and the doctor says it's been there for a long time. So you don't have to worry about it. It will just go away. And then now I created more. Like I said, I have 3 on my left, 4 on my right, but they all benign. But I'm just the scary part for me is just like I'm thinking, what if I just created the system, I wake up, it's not benign anymore. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know how I'm going. That's why I did this whole DNA profile thing, and because I wanted to know how to optimize my hormone.
And how old are you now?
I'm 42.
Okay, so it started, you said 12 years ago?
12 years ago when they found out a big cyst, so it must be, and the doctor said it must have been there for quite some time.
Okay.
But it's benign anyway.
Okay, so I know you put in the link for your dashboard. I can't, just for privacy, I can't access it. Like we have to engage.
Okay,
you. It's password.
All right, I have the attachment here. Give me a second. Oops.
Look at your hormone section.
Oh, I cannot just attach. I cannot attach a picture. I just screenshot it. But anyways, here is my second. So maybe I can just copy all this. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. So I just copied it, and that's up to NOS3, and then the clearing is this one.
Okay, so you're.
So that.
just fly through this stuff. 30. Um,
So it says that I have a zero copy of my GSTM1,
Yeah.
for example, and
I don't,
GSTT1 is one copy.
yeah. I don't think your issue is hormone driven. If I'm the way I'm reading this, right?
Mhm.
The hormone profile is really healthy. Like
That's
yeah.
yeah, that's what I well, the radiologist I've talked to, she said I'm estrogen dominant. And the people with estrogen dominancy, then they produce more cysts in their body, like me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking in my genes, I'm not really. And
So it could be what could be happening. So you have this really healthy profile, right? So now that healthy profile is healthy based on the assumption that all your environment, nutrition, lifestyle habits are also healthy. Depending where you live and what you breathe and what you've done, like were you on the birth control pill for 5-6 years before that started? Like, so the question is, what inputs could push you in a direction that's not healthy? Right? Because your baseline hormone profile is great. So you may have to think about things beyond your regular, like, where do you live, first of all?
well, I live in Los Angeles right now, but I grew up in the Philippines where I grew up with a lot of moldy stuff going on in my environment. And that's the whole reason why I got into this whole biohacking stuff, right? And knowing now that I had zero copy of GSTM1 and one copy of my GSTT1, that's why I focus a lot on detoxifying.
Yeah.
Even before I've known my genes, like about 10 years ago when I started with the whole this. And that's the reason why I keep having allergy then. And so anyways, I've lived all over the place. I lived in India, I lived in Shanghai, and then I've been in Los Angeles for the last 10 years now, 11 years. So
all those places you named are some of the most polluted places in the world.
And I grew up in polluted places.
LA, at 1 hour of LA smog is equivalent to a pack of cigarettes, just so you know. It's
Wow.
one of the worst in the world. So yeah, so it could be, so again, your base hormone profile looks great. But hormones are highly sensitive to endocrine disruption. And what are you exposing yourself to? It sounds like you've been in pollution for the last how many years, right? And then you may have to think about other things like your frying pan. Where do you get your dry cleaning done? What chemicals are on your desk that you clean your furniture with? You know, LA, there's pesticides everywhere. Like there's manicured lawns and gardens everywhere, right? So that's all covered in pesticides, the whole city. You have to think about when you're in traffic, you know, how are you controlling your air quality? So it could be that, right? And these types of toxic exposures, it's hard to predict where it's going to manifest. It could manifest as a migraine, it could manifest as eczema, it could manifest as cysts like you're experiencing. So I don't think it's a hormone thing, it's more like a toxin thing. And the breast, yes, the cellular structure of breast tissue, ducts and glands is very, very sensitive. Right. So that's why breast cancer is so prevalent. That's where it gets triggered first. It's much easier to get hit there than other places. So I think the detox stuff, you may need to dive into a deeper like therapeutic level protocol. So we talked about this earlier. There's somebody else where we said you need to go through a detox protocol. So it may be going straight carnivore for like 2 months, right?
Mm.
Meat, liver, and eggs, but your eggs are like high quality pasture eggs with a dark orange yolk. Your meat is, grass-fed, pasture, proper, and liver and organs, and you're doing that for like 2 months. You're and maybe even before doing that, you're doing like a master cleanse, like a 7-day, exactly what I said to the other person that was saying that they had the autoimmunity type thing. You're there, you're now in your early 40s. It's been enough exposure, which is why it's gone from 1 cyst to 5 or 6 cysts, because you're older, there's more exposure, so more problems. I don't think it's a hormone problem, it's a detox problem. Your mitochondrial function is also a little bit off. So as you age, the problem will get worse because you're less resilient. And your lifestyle has been that you've just been in big cities for a long time, in some of the most polluted cities in the world. So, and by the way, this is common for Filipino genetics, where when there's bad detox, it seems to hit harder. So there's something else going on genetically that we don't know, but we see often somebody with bad detox genetics from the Philippines is going to get crazy eczema, crazy migraines, depression. Like it just hits a lot harder. The same exposure just means more. So in your case, it seems to be equaling cyst. So again, a cyst is a condition. It's a medical thing. I'm not here as a doctor. I'm here just trying to put pieces together based on the story you're telling me. You still need to take this information to a doctor and work on it, because they, if we're not solving the problem, you still have the problem. So we're not saying go do this and you'll be fine, right? We're saying from all you're describing, the red flag seems to be this. It seems to be your environment plus your detox capacity equals this problem. That's what it seems to be.
So I'm like I said, I hardly expose myself into chemicals because I know that I'm sensitive with chemicals. Hard like cleaning products. I don't dry clean. Even my soap, my laundry soap is like the cleanest that can be. And so but because I know I've lived in these countries, and that's the reason why I've been so conscious about the way I eat, the way my pasteurized egg for sure from farmers market, even my vegetables. So I wonder if it is something to do with I have, because of all those accumulation I've gotten through the years of living in Shanghai for 7 years, a year in India, like in Philippines, all my childhood, and in a really bad environment. Maybe what I need, I'm just thinking because I'm very aware of the whole detoxification process because I removed my allergy from doing that. But now I have all this cyst coming into my body, and I just don't want it to be anywhere else more and get more. And so I wonder if it's detoxifying cellularly. Like I don't know what your recommendation on like an even deeper dive detox, not just cleansing the liver and all. Because I take NIC, glycine, and all. I make my own bone broth every week, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like you're doing a lot of stuff right. So this, to dive into this further, I think would need like functional medicine intervention. There's some piece missing here. I would say on our end to book time with Dr. Burkle. So I don't know if you've been to a functional medicine doctor yet or not, but I don't think it's a simple answer because you're doing a lot of good stuff. I don't think, other than the overarching jurisdiction, like the city exposure, you should still be okay because unless there's a hypersensitivity there or something. So I would suggest we got to dive a little bit deeper and perhaps book time with one of the doctors, because this isn't adding up.
Yeah, it isn't adding up. But the only concern my DNA profile really is both sides of my mom and my parents are insulin sensitivity. So
Yeah.
both of them died in diabetes
Yeah.
complications.
That it's likely the case for you, but that wouldn't explain why you started getting cysts at 30, right? There's something else going on there. I mean, metabolic poor health can lead to a whole bunch of problems. Breast cysts, I don't know. There's something else going on there. So this needs a deeper, so now the genetics are a tool that drives the decisions and helps guide us, but there's a little more needed here. There may be some blood work needed, you know, to kind of understand what's going on with your hormones. Maybe there's some red herring here that we don't understand, and there's some crazy estrogen toxicity that's not showing up genetically, but there's something around you that's causing it that we just didn't pinpoint. So I would suggest this requires medical visit, blood work. Let's see where you're at. And then we'll use your genetics to figure out why whatever thing we found is being triggered. Because your case is a bit of an anomaly. It's not adding up.
Yeah, it's not adding up, and also I don't have all the BRCA genes. I don't have the ApoE. I'm 3 and ApoE genes, and everything is like in. Seems like it works for me, except my GSTT1 and GSTMP1 is a little off. Well, not a little off. I think I'm kind of like I'm 0 and 1 copy. So I'm not removing toxins efficiently in my body. So I wondered that's the only thing I can think of at this point, because I've lived, like I mentioned, I've lived in toxic countries and grew up in a toxic environment.
Yeah, makes sense. So that would be my recommendation is to at least do like a discovery type call to figure out if there's something to be done here. Because it's complex and it's not, like you said, it's not adding up. So I think Tracy's email was in here. Should be in there. If you want, you can drop an email in here. I can connect you, or just connect to Tracy, and let's do that discovery. Oh, there it is. And figure out if there's something on. So first of all, we have the DNA. It can help guide the conversation. So once we get somewhere, we'll know what to do. But I would suggest there's some blood work needed here to understand what system is failing. Where's the red flag? And then we'll say, now this makes sense. Let's connect this to the genetics and fix that part. So I would do it that way.
Right. All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. All right, guys. So we're only 1 hour over. So I think we did okay today. But I wanted to make sure we did what we promised. Normally, I'm booked on a call every hour back to back to back to back through the day. And the hour that it said from 1 to 2 p.m. was training. So that's when I was supposed to exercise. So luckily, we had nothing to do that hour other than work on my physical appearance. And so we were able to keep going. So if there's anything we missed, go ahead and send questions to client care. I know that we tried to do our best to get all your answers here. We wanted to give everybody what they needed. I'm sure there's still things spinning in your head. Feel free to reach out. So we'll try and book more time in the future like this also, so that people can dive in like this again. Client care email is right there. Go ahead and drop a note if you think we missed something. If we didn't get enough time, whatever it is. And if you have feedback, you're like, hey, maybe we should have done this, maybe we should have done that. I would have preferred that this happened. Okay, then we can keep making changes, to make it better for you. So thank you again, guys. Pleasure and happy to help you with all this stuff. And whatever else you need, email client care in terms of anything we missed, anything you think we can do better, we'll keep doing it. Thanks again. All right, guys, let you go back to your days now. See you again. Genetics are a phenomenal thing. A 40-year-old person who looks and feels like they're 28 isn't because they left things to chance. They're doing things differently. Chronic disease, aging, poor performance. These are all the result of wrong choices.
But how do you know what the right choices are for you? And what would be the impact if you always made the right choice? What if you can change the day you die? When you see those first wrinkles, those gray hairs, or a call from the doctor and they say, I need to see you, your test results are in. We've taken it for granted that this is meant to happen, that aging and disease are just a part of life. Well, what if they're not? You can't feel cancer coming. There's no warning that dementia is on the way, and so we think these things just happen. We get sick, we try to treat it, but it's too late. Well, now there's a better way, a way that puts us each in charge of our own destiny. Genetic research has advanced more in the last 3 years than the last 30. And this personal instruction manual that's in each one of us has finally been properly decoded. We can now get ahead of disease or even reverse it, allowing us to decide how we age. Our scientists have clinically studied over 5,000 people. We've sat in front of each and every one of them. We looked at their hair, their skin, their mood and behavior, their medical history, everything about them, all overlaid on their DNA map. We then understood where the biochemistry of your trillions of cells and the instructions of your 22,000 genes intersect. And with that, what choices each one of us needs to make to slow down aging and catch disease before it happens. I have no doubt that with the genetic insights we're seeing today, chronic disease will soon be a story that we tell our grandchildren. If you understand why chronic disease and aging really happen, you also understand that they are truly optional.